January 10, 1873. My dearest James, you are gone. The time was too short. How is it possible that I miss you already? I am always touched by your sweet nature, the gifts you brought, and to think of Sarah Jane as you did, she will treasure that book so. You are just too sweet, and to think you shall be mine. 6 months is not enough time. I'm thinking of this as your train is leaving. How will we ever do it? Miss Bayless will help with the dresses, but everything else? Do you really think June is not too soon? I know it is a proper length of time for an engagement, but even so, well, we shall make our efforts. I will look forward to our arrival in Pittsburgh next month. I think Aunt Eva is anxious that we move along. Before we leave, we shall make hats for your mother and aunt. Don't tell them. I want it to be a surprise. I do so hope they like the hats. And me. I can't imagine that I should not design hats and shawls and scarves after we are married. It is something I may well want to continue to do. Maybe we can think of a little hat shop in Pittsburgh, as you mentioned might be possible. Not right away, but in the future. We shall look forward to the arrival of the talented Mr. Willis. I am so glad he has agreed to work for you. He must be quite talented for you to have him come all the way from Cincinnati. We will be most anxious to meet him. It is so good of you to have him remain here and accompany us to Pittsburgh next month. It was very thoughtful and sweet. You are just the sweetest man. We may also have him assist us with some arrangements at the shop. It will be good to have the strength of a man around. As we discussed, we should begin now to prepare the shop for a permanent closing, not just the usual winter clean. We often don't keep the shop open during the winter months. It is a time for cleaning. Of course, we would always be available to our friends and customers if they need us for something special. I remember last winter, Mrs. Rife was suddenly faced with a trip to Washington, D.C. for a special occasion for her cousin, Mrs. Lester. It happened that Mrs. Lester's husband was receiving a special recognition for his work. I'm not really sure what his work was, but it must have been very important. Mrs. Rife was desperate for a new hat that would impress her cousin and let her know that she was not some river bumpkin. She found me one day last February cleaning away in the shop. I'll never forget the look on her face as I discovered the source of the tapping noise. I turned to find Mrs. Rife tapping on the glass with one hand and waving with the other as the snow came down thick around her. One could only see the extreme anxiety in her face. It was truly rewarding when her cousin ordered a hat through Mrs. Rife later last spring, sent all the way to Virginia. Well, my sweet, I am rambling on here. I must stop, although I don't want to. When I'm writing you, I am with you, and I want so to be with you again. Soon enough, my love. Soon enough. My best regards to your mother and aunt. Affectionately, your future wife, Anne Levitt. P.S. The snow just doesn't stop today. I pray that you will be safe.